word to wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we're going to be talking about Icon and Rocket Season 1, Number 2 by Reginald Hudlin and Doug Braithwaite. And in this video, what I want to talk to you guys about is something that has often come up when I've talked about Icon in the past. This character who has always kind of been this fish out of water style character, being an alien from a whole entire other galaxy who masquerades on the planet Earth as a black man, even going back as far as the time of slavery. And the thing that always came up is, why did Icon never help stop slavery? Why did he not help free slaves and take down their white oppressors? Well, in this video today, I'm going to explain to you definitively why he actually did, but more importantly, why it ultimately failed. That's right, in this video, we're going to talk about how Icon handled slavery as a superhero. We're going to talk about all this and more right now, but first, if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoy the video, I humbly ask that you Hulk smash that like button, because it really helps the channel out. Now, let's talk about Icon and Rocket Season 2, Number 2. Okay, so the main thing about this comic, and not just in regards to slavery, but in regards to how Icon and Rocket are handling crime in the city of Dakota as it is today in modern times. One of the things that I thought was very interesting about this is that there is both callback to the previous issue of Icon and Rocket Season 1, Number 1, but also to the original series, because one of the things that came up in the previous issue was why Icon had no interest in trying to, save the neighborhood, save the world, use his powers for the greater good, because as Icon very eloquently pointed out, if he stopped a drug dealer on the streets of MLK today, there would be someone to come in and fill in the vacuum later. It would be a never-ending struggle to stop whoever and whatever wants to do evil in the city of Dakota, but they do it anyway. Raquel Irvin is able to convince Icon to actually go through with the idea of being a superhero, and apparently they're doing a bang up job. They're actually bringing down crime in Dakota City as low as by 65%. They have dropped crime in Dakota by 65%, and the police, they're not happy about it because their jobs are, for one, they're being done for them, and more importantly, it's making them look bad. But the thing is, it's not even just simple crime, petty crime even, that they're stopping. They're even going as far as stopping domestic abuse in their neighborhoods, even at a point where Raquel is approached by children and asked to help stop this man, this random dude, from beating his wife on the regular. And Rocket does exactly that, taking on this guy and helping, trying to get this woman to find somewhere else to go, to not be with this person. The thing is, the neighborhood is even standing up and protecting Icon and Rocket. When news reporters and cops, when people come around asking questions, people say they don't know who they are, even though they clearly do. People in the neighborhood are fully and keenly aware who Icon and Rocket are. They're even more keenly aware of who Rocket's secret identity is, or at least it's implied, because people even approach Rocket when she's not even in costume. It's one of those things, it's kind of a nod to the fact that, and something that I've heard both Reginald Hudlin and Dennis Cowan both talk about, the fact that, secret identities are kind of ridiculous in, the modern era of comic books, because it's very easy to figure out who people are. I mean, we have camera phones everywhere. There's literally cameras everywhere in the world. Someone is watching you at any one given time. It would be completely ridiculous to try and hide who you are. And another thing I thought was very interesting in this as well is that even though all this is going on, Icon and Rocket are prepared for the worst. Now, there is a moment here where we are introduced to a new character by the name of Xiomara Collins, who is supposed to be this lawyer who works for Augustus Freeman, aka Icon. And when the cops come snooping around, because they know that Raquel Irvin is Rocket, they're trying to get her mother to flip a dime on her and give her up. And this woman shows up and says, hey, I work for Augustus. I'm your lawyer. Here, I got your back. Now, my first instinct on this is I thought this was maybe possibly Icon using his shape-shifting abilities to hide his true identity, but also help Rocket at the same time. And I even tried to dig a little deeper to see if maybe she was a character from Milestone's original heyday that I maybe had forgotten about, but that's not the case either. But that's not really what I'm here to talk about. That part is not really as important as, at least not right now, as some people may think it is. The thing I really want to focus on here is the fact that these cops, I think these cops are more than who they claim to be. They seem to be more keenly aware of what's going on than maybe your normal everyday average cops should be in a case of this magnitude. And they seem to even be aware that there's more to this Xiomara Collins than what meets the eye. The reason why I bring this up is because in this, it's actually revealed that the government, the NSA, is keenly aware that Augustus Freeman is an alien, and the fact that he has been working with the government for about as long as the NSA has ever been a thing, or maybe even as long as before the NSA has ever been a thing. And they aren't particularly happy with the fact that he's decided to become a superhero. They want him to stop. They want him out of the superhero game. They don't want him helping his neighborhood. They don't want him doing anything. They want him to get back to doing what he's been doing, keeping a low profile, being a rich lawyer, and feeding them information and technology from his world. Something that he has been doing for quite some time, and they're also upset that he now has a sidekick who apparently he's given tech to that they weren't aware even existed. This is what kind of leads to the main issue here, the fact that there are people in power now, powerful people who are aware of what's going on and they don't like it. People who are both aware of the truth about Augustus Freeman and those who haven't even scratched the surface of it. Right now, there are powerful individuals in play that are upset at the balance that is being changed. The fact that a poor black neighborhood has suddenly become a less crime-ridden area, that people are now starting to stand up, and not only stand up for themselves, but even to protect Icon and Rocket and those close to them. When someone even tries to go after Raquel's mother, there are people on the street, like some kind of neighborhood watch on steroids, that are protecting them and stopping anyone who tries to harm them. I say all this because this actually relates to something that happens towards the end of this book. The fact that the NSA has now reached out to someone who we don't really truly know their actual real name. They're referred to as Mr. Smith, but they also say that their name is actually Benedict Lord, a name that they have been using for generations. It's some guy who apparently has existed in the world for probably about as long as Icon has. And this is someone who has direct ties to the Confederacy. This man knows a lot of information about Icon. He actually remembers when Icon first arrived on that plantation in Georgia back in the 1800s. He intimately remembers that Augustus is an alien and that he didn't get his alien memories, until he was much older. He understands that Icon started developing his powers, and when that happened, even before he developed his powers, he had a rebellious nature, a rebellious spirit, something that constantly, as he said, kept him in trouble with the overseers. And once Augustus's powers fully developed, once he was fully of age, that is when Augustus turned. And Augustus began using his powers to stop the overseers and slave runners, and basically took over the plantation that he was enslaved on, freeing all of the slaves and basically freeing anyone who was ever brought to that plantation. And this is kind of getting to the reason why I've always defended the fact that Icon didn't bother stopping slavery. You see, a lot of people, a lot of readers tend to get this idea in their head that, oh, well, he's basically Superman. If he says slavery is over, then it's over. That's not really how racism and systemic oppression actually work. You see, these white men, yeah, they're scared of him. They're terrified of him. And that's what makes them even more dangerous than a black Superman. You see, they banded together. They brought their money, their power, all the weapons that they could buy together to try to take back everything that they had lost. And yes, while that ultimately failed, that didn't deter them. They threw everything they had at Icon, all their guns, all their pitchforks, all their torches, their cannons, their entire arsenal, all of it failed. And yes, while at the same time, this should have ended everything, it didn't. Icon even took his influence to, in a very Nat Turner style fashion, march everyone to the steps of the seat of the Confederacy. And while every slave that he could muster was there and witnessed him literally destroy the throne of the Confederacy, taking out everything, watching everything burn, Augustus even went a step farther by killing Jefferson Davis, the leader and president of the Confederacy, marching out of a burning building while he himself is on fire with the head of Jefferson Davis in his possession. Icon literally did everything he could, humanly possible, to stop slavery, but it wasn't enough because, once again, there's always escalation. Think back to Batman Begins. When the police start wearing bulletproof vests, the criminals start using armor-piercing rounds. When a man starts running around in a bat costume, it's going to inspire criminals to up the ante, to start running around using costumes themselves. Everything escalates, and that's exactly what happened here. Benedict Lord, of course, being someone long-lived enough to have existed in the time when Icon was trying to free slaves, Benedict Lord was also there because he was the one who killed Icon. When Icon was taking out Jefferson Davis, Benedict Lord was there to ram a piece of a wooden stake through Icon's back out of his chest, killing him. But clearly, this didn't kill him. Something that actually surprised Benedict Lord. And regardless of whatever the result was, he literally did what he needed to do. Even he was someone who had to admit that the Confederacy was something that honestly was doomed from the start. It was not something that was going to last forever. But the thing that he did, the thing he felt was the most effective, is that he literally destroyed the hopes and dreams of all the slaves who were there and witnessed their savior die. And that was the ultimate killer. That was a thing that basically stamped out the rebellion, the fact that they literally sat and watched as the man who was going to lead them to freedom literally died right before their eyes. Someone who was bulletproof, someone who couldn't be killed by any other means, someone who was immune to the whips, the chains, and suddenly this god among men seemed that much more human. And to make matters even worse, they destroyed all the evidence that Icon ever existed. This is something that was so secretive. The fact that they killed Icon, they lied about the fact that Jefferson Davis was ever even killed himself and just lied and said that he was imprisoned and then, quotey fingers released later, but it was actually, in fact, an imposter. Something that even with someone as much clearance in the NSA as someone like this Miss Baker would likely have, even she wasn't aware of. Now, in truth, Jefferson Davis, the real-life historical Jefferson Finis Davis, he did actually not die the way that was stated in this comic. He actually was imprisoned back in 1865. And of course, when he was finally released, he basically was drummed out of his rank and ran off into obscurity. But he was never really a truly loved leader of the Confederacy. And in fact, even by his own allies, was considered probably the weakest link in the entirety of the Confederacy. But the truth of the matter is, in the very end, he wound up being one of the key figures who ultimately tried to get the South to just go ahead and make nice with the Union. The thing is that, powerful people are upset. They're angry and they want Icon gone. This Benedict Lord is no different, and he's very likely the reason why the criminals on the street are getting all this new powerful tech that is designed to combat Icon. Something that we see earlier in this comic where Icon is taking on a drug lord and he somehow just whips out a mech suit that not only protects him from Icon, but also seems to negate some of Icon's abilities. This is the reason why it's happening. Benedict Lord is the reason why it's happening. And Benedict Lord is going to make sure that Icon actually dies this time. This, once again, is why when a lot of you came at me when I first started talking about Icon on this channel, a lot of you often come out and say, oh, why didn't he stop slavery? Well, you got your answer now. He actually did try, but ultimately it all failed. Because at the end of the day, he may have scared a lot, and by a lot, I mean every single white slave owner that was in existence. But the thing is, when you scare someone enough, that doesn't mean they're gonna run away with their tails tucked between their legs and stop doing whatever it was they were doing that upset you in the first place. What they're probably going to do, especially in a time like that, is they're going to go and find something bigger and badder than you to stop you. And you may agree with me, you may disagree with me, but honestly, this makes complete, total, and 100% sense to me. The fact that there was someone out there who might just be as powerful as Icon, the fact that Augustus, a man who came from another galaxy, an alien, landing in the time of slavery, why would it seem so odd that there would be someone else there that's almost as powerful as he is? Something tells me that this person, this Benedict Lord, is very likely someone not that different from Augustus. Maybe even a very similar alien, if not of the same alien race. I even wonder if this might even be the alien that escaped during the first issue and used a very similar escape pod that also changed his DNA the same way it changed Augustus's DNA. Who knows? It seems like the most obvious and most likely answer, but who knows? I could be wrong. That said, if that is the case, where Augustus was found by slaves and was thus turned into a black man because the way the pods worked, they transformed the passenger's DNA to match that of whoever was the first person who found them, maybe this guy, Benedict Lord, maybe he was found by white slave owners. I mean, the alien in question seemed to be a criminal to begin with, and maybe not the nicest of people. It wouldn't surprise me if this were the case. A lot of this stuff was never truly addressed in the original Icon comics, his time during slavery, and even the idea of the government knowing who he truly was. A lot of this stuff was either never really truly fully addressed or was not even talked about at all. But anyways, that is how Icon tried to tackle slavery in his time. If you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button and make sure to share it all over the internet and with all your friends so they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to Icon and Rocket Season 1, Number 2. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about Icon and Rocket Season 1, Number 2. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.